The huge meeting room on Nexus Prime was quiet except for the soft hum of machines. This was the center of the galaxy, where all the important decisions were made. Tall beings from different worlds sat around a giant table that floated in the air. Some looked like giant bugs, others were made of crystal. A few had too many arms or eyes. They were the Galactic Council. For 3,000 years, they had ruled over 847 different species across the stars. Today was just another boring day of paperwork and reports. Counselor Velthar shifted in his seat. His crystal body changed from blue to green as he spoke. "There is a small matter to discuss," he said in a tired voice. "We found a new planet on the edge of space. The third planet in a yellow star system." A picture appeared in the air above the table. It showed a blue and green world covered in white clouds. The planet looked small and unimportant floating there in the dark. "What do we know about this world?" asked Counselor Crixnon. The big insect being clicked his sharp mouth parts together. His black eyes looked bored. "The species there calls itself humans," Velthar said. "They are mammals. They have 2 arms, 2 legs, and walk upright. Very basic." The other council members barely looked at the picture. They had seen thousands of worlds like this one. "What can we use from their planet?" Crixnon asked. "Some useful metals, lots of water." "Nothing special," Velthar answered. "The humans are still very primitive. They just learned to split atoms. They have only sent a few small ships to their own moon." In the picture, they could see cities with lights scattered across the dark side of the planet. Smoke rose from factories. Small flying machines moved through the air. "They fight each other all the time," Velthar continued. "Wars happen every few years. They have divided their world into many small territories. Very aggressive, like most mammal species." Meanwhile, on the planet Earth, Harin Kim stood in the Seoul Space Command Center. She was 32 years old, with dark hair and smart eyes. She had spent her whole life studying the stars and wondering what was out there. "Horizon's Edge is ready to launch," said the voice on the radio. Harin watched the big screen as Earth's first ship to another star system lifted off. The rocket was small compared to the dreams it carried. Inside was a robot explorer that would travel for 20 years to reach the closest star. "One day we will follow it," Harin said to herself. "One day we will meet whoever is out there." Next, to her, Jinha Park nodded. He was a thin man with sharp eyes who worked on military planning. "If anyone is out there," he said quietly. "Oh, they are out there," Harin said with certainty. "The universe is too big for us to be alone." She was right, but she had no idea that alien machines were already watching their rocket. Hidden sensors recorded every detail of human technology. The information traveled faster than light to the council meeting. Back on Nexus Prime, General Thrackmore studied the new data. He was a tall, gray being with 4 arms and no nose. "Their technology is very weak," he reported. "Chemical rockets, simple computers. They could not hurt a council ship even if they tried." "But they are spreading," Velthar noted. "This rocket will reach another star system. If we do nothing, they might develop better technology. In a few thousand years, they could become a problem." "What do you suggest?" asked Counselor Prime Zethka. She was the leader of the council, an ancient being whose species had ruled the galaxy since before humans learned to make fire. "Standard quarantine protocol," Velthar said. "We place monitoring stations around their system. We block any signals from getting out. We stop their ships if they try to leave. When they reach Class 2 civilization status in a few thousand years, we can contact them properly." This sounded reasonable to the council. They had done this before with hundreds of other species. It was normal procedure. "All in favor?" asked Prime Zethka. Every member raised their hand, claw, or tentacle. The vote was unanimous. Motion passed. "System 847 Gamma is now a developmental quarantine zone. General Thrackmore, place the barriers." It took less than 5 minutes to decide humanity's fate. To the council, humans were just another primitive species that needed to be contained until they grew up. They had no idea what they had just done. Far from the council chambers, Rex Donovan floated in his small research ship at the edge of the solar system. He was a tough man in his 40s who had served in Earth's military before becoming a space pilot. His ship, the Defiance, was old but reliable. Rex had been tracking strange energy readings for weeks. His instruments showed patterns that should not exist. Space seemed to bend in ways that human science said was impossible. "What the hell is that?" he muttered, looking at his screens. Something huge was moving out there in the dark. It was invisible to normal sensors, but Rex had learned to modify his equipment during his military days. He could see shapes that looked like buildings floating in empty space. Rex tried to get closer, but his ship's engines started acting strange. The controls would not respond properly. His radio stopped working. Everything seemed to be fighting against him. "This is not natural," he said to himself. He managed to take a few pictures before his ship was pushed away by an invisible force. The photos would later become the first proof that humans were not alone. They would also be the first evidence that something was actively keeping them trapped. On Earth, Harren watched as contact with Horizon's Edge was suddenly lost. The signal just disappeared as if the ship had never existed. "Technical failure," the mission director announced. These things happen with experimental technology. But Harren was not convinced. The data showed everything was working perfectly, until the signal cut out. It was as if something had simply turned off their ship like flipping a switch. "That was our best shot at reaching the stars," Jinha said sadly. "It will be decades before we can build another ship like that." Harren stared at the empty screen where their ship's signal used to be. "Something stopped it," she said quietly. "Something out there does not want us to leave." Jinha looked at her with concern. "That sounds crazy, Harren." "Maybe," she said, "but I am going to find out what happened to our ship." Neither of them knew that invisible barriers were already being built around their solar system. Energy fields that would turn their rockets away from the stars. Signal jammers that would block their messages to other worlds. A prison made of bent space and twisted physics. The Galactic Council thought they were being kind. They believed they were protecting a young species until it was ready to join galactic society. They had done this many times before with other worlds, but they had never done it to humans before. They had no idea what happened when you tried to cage a species that had climbed to the top of their world's food chain through pure stubbornness. They did not understand what humans did when someone tried to keep them from their dreams. They were about to learn. The cage was built. The trap was set. Earth spun peacefully in its orbit, unaware that it was now a prison. But prisons only work if the prisoners do not know they are trapped. And humans had always been very good at finding ways out of places they were not supposed to be. The Council's first mistake was thinking humans would stay caged quietly. Their second mistake would be much worse. 50 years had passed since the Horizon's Edge disappeared. Earth had tried again and again to reach the stars. Every time something went wrong. Ships exploded for no reason. Computers crashed when they got too far from Earth. Radio signals turned to static. It was like space itself did not want humans to leave their home. Jake Morrison sat in his office on Luna Base, looking at files that made no sense. He was now 65 years old and had gray hair, but his mind was still sharp. As director of the Enhanced Space Initiative, he had seen every failed mission for the last 30 years. 17 ships lost, he said to himself, reading the reports. No wreckage found, no distress signals, they just vanish. Jake opened another file. The Mars Colony Project had failed when their supply ships kept getting lost. The Europa Research Station went silent after 6 months. The asteroid mining operation stopped working when all their equipment broke down at the same time. "This is not bad luck," Jake said. "Someone is doing this to us." He pressed a button on his desk. "Get me the World Council. Emergency meeting." On Jupiter's moon, Ganymede, Harren Kim worked in her secret laboratory. She was now 71 years old, but her eyes still burned with curiosity. For decades, she had been studying the strange things that happened to Earth's space missions. Harren had built her lab in secret, hidden from Earth's governments. She knew someone was watching them. She just needed to prove it. "Computer, show me the energy readings from the Neptune probe," she said. The screen lit up with wavy lines and numbers. Harin had been looking at data like this for years. Slowly, she had learned to see the pattern. There, she pointed at the screen. The gravitational field changes right before the probe stops working. Something is bending space around our ships. Her computer beeped. An encrypted message from Earth appeared on her screen. It was from Jinha Park, who was now Earth's top military leader. Harin, we need to talk. Jake is calling an emergency meeting. Something big is happening. Harin smiled sadly. Jinha was now 58 years old and had spent his whole career preparing Earth's defenses for an enemy they could not see. He had built secret weapons and hidden bases, always expecting the worst. I know what you are going to tell me, old friend, she said to the screen. We are not alone, and whoever is out there does not want us to join them. Meanwhile, Rex Donovan floated near Pluto in his ship, the New Defiance. He was older now, with white hair and scars from years of dangerous missions. But he had never stopped looking for the truth about what was keeping humans trapped. Sensors are picking up something, he said to his crew. Big energy signature, about 2 million kilometers away. Rex had spent decades building better sensors and more powerful ships. He had learned to see through the alien tricks that hid their technology. Today, he was going to get proof. There, shouted his co-pilot Quan Li. Something just appeared, on the screen. Rex looked at his display and felt his blood turn cold. A massive structure floated in space where nothing should exist. It was bigger than a city, made of metal and energy that glowed with alien light. That is a monitoring station, Rex said quietly. They have been watching us this whole time. The structure was beautiful and terrible. Curved walls covered in strange symbols, energy fields that bent light around them, technology that was thousands of years ahead of anything humans had built. They are keeping us in a cage, Quan said with anger in his voice. Rex activated his ship's recording systems. We need to get this data back to Earth. The world needs to know we are prisoners. But as soon as Rex started recording, the alien station noticed him. Alarms began ringing in his ship. His engines stopped working. A blue beam of light grabbed his ship and pulled it toward the station. We are caught, Rex said calmly. Quan, get to the escape pod. I am not leaving you. Commander, Rex smiled, then we go out fighting. He reached for the red button that would overload his ship's nuclear reactor. It was an old military trick. If you cannot win, make sure the enemy pays a price. For humanity, Rex said, and pressed the button. The explosion lit up the solar system. For a brief moment, there was a new star beyond Pluto. The alien monitoring station vanished in a ball of fire and radiation. On Earth, telescopes recorded the flash. Scientists tried to explain it as a natural event, but Jake Morrison knew better. He had lost contact with Rex's mission 3 days ago. The emergency meeting of world leaders took place in an underground bunker in Switzerland. Presidents, prime ministers, and generals sat around a table listening to Jake's report. For 50 years we have been prisoners, Jake said. His voice was hard and angry. Every time we try to reach the stars, they stop us. Every colony ship, every research mission, every attempt to escape this solar system has been sabotaged. The Chinese premier leaned forward. You are saying aliens have trapped us here? I am saying Rex Donovan just proved it by destroying one of their watching posts, Jake replied. The explosion was visible from Earth. Our best pilot gave his life to show us the truth. What do you suggest we do? Asked the American president. Jake put a data pad on the table. We stop playing by their rules. We build ships they cannot stop. We develop weapons they do not expect, and we make them pay for every human life they have stolen. Harin joined the meeting by video link from her hidden lab. I have been reverse engineering their technology for years, she said. The alien wreckage from Rex's attack is giving us new information. We can build better engines, stronger shields, and weapons that use their own physics against them. Jinha spoke from his military command center. I have been preparing for this day since the first ships disappeared. We have hidden factories, secret weapons, and volunteers ready to fight. Earth's armies are ready to become something more. What are you talking about? Asked the Russian president. Jinha's smile was cold. We are talking about war, but not the kind of war we have fought before. This will be a war to break our cage and make our captors pay for every dream they stole from us. The room was quiet for a long moment. These leaders had spent their lives worried about wars between human nations. Now they faced something much bigger. How long do we have? Asked the Japanese Prime Minister. Not long, Harin answered. They will send more ships to investigate what happened to their station. When they see that Rex destroyed it, they will know we are no longer helpless. Then we have a choice, Jake said. We can wait here like good prisoners and hope they decide to free us someday. Or we can show them what happens when you cage a species that conquered an entire planet through pure stubbornness. The vote was quick and unanimous. Every leader raised their hand. Motion passed, said the UN Secretary General. Earth is now at war with whoever has imprisoned us. May God help us all. In space, automated systems in the destroyed monitoring station sent their final message to the Galactic Council. The transmission was simple but terrifying. Emergency. Humans have achieved impossible technology. Station 7743 Gamma destroyed by primitive nuclear device, requesting immediate military response. The message traveled faster than light across the galaxy. When it reached Nexus Prime, the council chamber erupted in panic. Impossible, shouted Councillor Velthar. Humans cannot penetrate our phase shift barriers. General Thrackmore studied the battle data with growing horror. They did not use advanced technology, he reported. They flew a nuclear reactor directly into our station and detonated it manually. One human pilot destroyed our most advanced monitoring post through raw determination and sacrifice. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Council felt fear. They had caged many species before, but none had ever fought back like this. Send a battle fleet, ordered Prime Zethka. Show them what happens when primitives attack the Council. It was their second mistake. The first was trapping humanity. The second was deciding to fight them instead of trying to understand what they had done. On Earth, the preparations began. Factories that had made cars started building spaceships. Scientists who had studied the stars started building weapons. Soldiers who had protected their countries started training to protect their entire species. Harin worked day and night, turning alien technology into human weapons. Jinha moved his armies to hidden bases throughout the solar system. Jake coordinated the construction of humanity's breakout fleet. The cage was broken, but the fight was just beginning. The aliens had trapped humanity for 50 years, stolen their dreams, and murdered their explorers. Now they were going to learn why humans had never stayed down when someone tried to keep them there. The war for humanity's freedom was about to begin. The Galactic Council was in chaos. Emergency lights flashed red in the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime. For the first time in thousands of years, a primitive species had destroyed Council property. This should not be possible, Councillor Crixnon clicked his mandibles rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. Humans are barely out of their caves. How did they destroy our monitoring station? General Thrackmore stood before the giant screen showing the battle data. His forearms moved as he pointed to different parts of the report. They did not use advanced weapons, he said slowly. One human pilot flew his nuclear reactor directly into our station. He died in the explosion, but he took our entire facility with him. Suicide attack, whispered Prime Zethka. We have seen this behavior before in primitive species, but never with such effectiveness. The crystal being Velthar changed colors from blue to angry red. We must respond immediately. Send the third battle fleet to their system. Show these humans what happens when they attack the Council. Wait, said Councillor Mordak, an ancient slug-like creature with multiple eyes. Maybe we should study this more carefully. How did they even see our station? It was phase-shifted out of normal space. General Thrackmore looked uncomfortable. Unknown. Their technology should not be able to detect our cloaked facilities. Yet somehow they found it and destroyed it. It does not matter how they did it, Velthar said angrily. They must be punished. I call for immediate military action. Agreed, said Prime Zethka. Send Admiral Vextic with 50 ships. That should be more than enough to handle one primitive world. It was their second mistake. The first was caging humanity. The second was underestimating what humans could do when they were angry. On Earth, the most massive construction project in human history was taking place. Every nation had sent their best engineers, scientists, and workers to secret bases around the solar system. Harin stood in the main laboratory on Luna Base, looking at pieces of alien technology scattered across dozens of tables. The wreckage from Rex's attack had given humanity its first real look at advanced alien science. "This metal is incredible," she said to her team of scientists. "It is stronger than anything we can make, but lighter than aluminum. And look at these energy conductors." She held up a strange crystal that glowed with inner light. "This stores more power than our biggest nuclear reactor, but it fits in my hand." Dr. Kim Sato, one of Harin's top researchers, shook his head in amazement. "How do they make materials like this?" "They do not make them," Harin said with a smile. "They grow them. This is not technology as we understand it. This is more like engineered biology." Harin had been working without sleep for days, trying to understand how alien science worked. Slowly, she was learning to copy their methods. "We cannot build exactly what they build," she explained to her team, "but we can take their ideas and make them work with human engineering. Look at this." She showed them a new engine design. It looked like human technology, but it used alien principles to bend space around a ship. "This should let our ships move faster than light," Harin said. "More importantly, it should let us break through their barriers." Meanwhile, Jinha Park stood on the bridge of Earth's first real warship. The Retribution was built in a hidden shipyard behind the moon. It looked like a human ship, angular and tough, but it used alien technology in ways their creators never intended. "Weapons test in 5 minutes," Jinha announced to his crew. "All hands prepare for combat trials." The ship's main weapon was Harin's greatest achievement. It took the alien energy storage crystals and discharged them all at once through human-built focusing arrays. The result was a beam that could cut through a mountain. "Target locked," reported the weapons officer. Firing main cannon. A brilliant blue beam shot out from the Retribution and struck an old asteroid. The space rock simply vanished, turned to vapor in less than a second. "Good," Jinha said with satisfaction. "The aliens wanted to keep us locked up. Let us show them what we learned while we were in their cage." Jake Morrison floated in the command center of the stealth ship Ghostwalker. At 70 years old, he was too old for this mission, but he refused to let anyone else lead it. "Are you sure about this, Jake?" asked Captain Sarah Chen over the radio. "You should be coordinating the war from Earth, not flying combat missions." "Rex died to give us this chance," Jake replied. "I am not going to waste it sitting behind a desk." The Ghostwalker was humanity's most advanced ship. It used alien cloaking technology, but improved it with human creativity. Instead of just hiding from sensors, it could make itself look like space debris, asteroids, or even other ships. Approaching the target, Jake announced to his crew of 12 volunteers, "Remember, we are not just here to destroy their facility. We are here to send a message." Their target was a Council supply depot, hidden in an asteroid field near Jupiter. It was supposed to be secret, but Harin's new sensors could see through alien stealth technology. "There it is," whispered his co-pilot, Quan Li. Rex's old partner had insisted on joining this mission. Just like the intelligence report said, the alien facility was built inside a large asteroid. From the outside, it looked like a normal space rock. But Jake's sensors showed the truth, a massive base filled with weapons, supplies, and alien technology. "This is for Rex," Jake said, and fired his missiles. The explosion was visible from Earth. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but drifting metal and frozen atmosphere. Across the galaxy, similar attacks began happening. Human ships appeared where they should not exist, struck facilities that should be impossible to find, and vanished before alien reinforcements could arrive. "How are they doing this?" General Thrackmore demanded, studying reports from a dozen different attacks. "They are hitting our most secure installations. They are using our own technology against us, reported Intelligence Officer Plixnar. Somehow they have learned to detect our cloaked facilities and penetrate our defenses. That is impossible, Velthar protested. It took our civilization thousands of years to develop that technology. Humans learn differently than we do, Plixnar said quietly. They do not follow the same rules. They take what works and ignore what does not. They combine technologies in ways we never considered. Prime Zethka listened to the reports with growing concern. How many facilities have we lost? 17 in the last week, Thrakmor replied. All destroyed by small human forces using impossible tactics. And our battle fleet? Admiral Vextic reports his ships are 3 days out from the human system. He should arrive soon. Good, Zethka said. Once we destroy their homeworld, this rebellion will end. But Admiral Vextic was about to discover that humanity had prepared a surprise for him. His 50 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, expecting to find frightened humans hiding behind their planet's defenses. Instead, they found empty space and floating debris. Where are they? Vextic demanded. Our intelligence said humans could barely leave their own world. Admiral, his sensor officer reported nervously. I am detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system, multiple ship contacts appearing on all sides. Human ships materialized from impossible angles. They came from inside asteroids, from behind moons, from directions that should have been empty space. The Retribution appeared directly above Vextic's flagship, its weapons already charging. Impossible, Vextic whispered. They should not have ships like these. Jinha's voice came over the radio, speaking in perfect galactic standard. Admiral Vextic of the 3rd Battle Fleet. I am Commander Jinha Park of the Human Liberation Navy. You have 10 seconds to surrender before we demonstrate what 50 years of imprisonment taught us. Surrender? Vextic laughed. To primitives? All ships open fire. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, 37 Council ships were destroyed or disabled. The remaining 13 fled back to Nexus Prime, carrying news that would shake the galaxy. They were using our own weapons, the surviving captain reported to the Emergency Council session. Somehow they had turned our shield generators into bombs, our communication arrays into weapons, our navigation systems into guided missiles. How? Demanded Velthar. They think differently than we do, the captain replied. We build technology to work in specific ways. Humans take that same technology and use it for completely different purposes. They turned our own fleet systems against us. The council chamber fell silent. For 3,000 years they had ruled the galaxy through technological superiority. Now a primitive species had shown that superior technology meant nothing if your enemy could turn it into a weapon. What are our options? Prime Zethka asked quietly. General Thrakmor looked at his reports with despair. Limited. They are attacking our facilities faster than we can defend them. Their ships appear and disappear at will, and every battle teaches them more about our technology. Negotiate, suggested Counselor Mordak. Offer them recognition as a galactic species. Give them what they want. After they attacked us? Velthar's crystal body flared bright red. Never. But it was too late for negotiation. Jake Morrison's response to their diplomatic offer was broadcast across 12 star systems. You had 50 years to introduce yourselves properly. Instead, you chose to cage us like animals. 1 year had passed since humanity broke free from their cage. Now they were no longer just escaping. They were hunting. The human fleet launched from 12 hidden locations across the solar system. Ships that should have been impossible to build, powered by engines that broke every known law of physics. Each vessel carried crews whose eyes burned with the fury of a species that had been caged for 50 years. Harin commanded the science vessel Revelation from her captain's chair. At 72, she moved carefully, but her mind was sharper than ever. Around her, dozens of young humans worked at stations covered with alien technology that she had taught them to use. Scan complete, reported Lieutenant Park. We have found 17 Council installations within 50 light-years of Earth. Harin smiled coldly. Mark them all for destruction. It is time to show the galaxy what happens when you try to cage humanity. The revelation was covered with sensors that could see through any alien stealth technology. Harren had spent months learning how Council cloaking worked, then built devices that could find their hidden bases no matter where they hid. "Set course for the nearest target," she ordered. "Let us begin the hunt." Jinha led the main attack fleet aboard the flagship, Retribution. His ship was a masterpiece of human engineering and alien technology, built by people who understood that sometimes the best defense is a devastating offense. "All ships, prepare for combat," Jinha announced over the radio. "Remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every species the Council has ever caged." Behind him followed 30 human warships, each one unique. Human engineers had learned to take alien technology and improve it in ways the original creators never imagined. Council energy shields became human plasma cannons. Alien navigation computers became targeting systems that could track enemies through hyperspace. "Target acquired," reported his weapons officer. "Council patrol fleet, 12 ships, approaching from the asteroid belt." "They still think we are the same primitives they caged 50 years ago," Jinha said. "Show them how wrong they are." The battle was swift and brutal. Human ships appeared from directions that should have been impossible, using technologies that bent space and time to their will. Council vessels found their own systems turning against them as human computer viruses infected their networks. In less than 10 minutes, the entire Council patrol was destroyed or fleeing. Jake Morrison piloted the stealth ship Ghostwalker through the outer rim of Council space. Despite being 71 years old, he insisted on leading the most dangerous missions personally. "We are approaching the Hegemony shipyard," his co-pilot Quan reported. "Sensors show 300 ships under construction." Jake studied the massive facility floating in space ahead of them. It was the size of a small moon, covered in construction bays where the Council built their war fleet. "Perfect," Jake said quietly. "If we destroy this, they will have to build new ships with materials they do not have and workers they cannot find." The Ghostwalker was invisible to Council sensors, protected by human improvements to alien cloaking technology. But Jake had learned that the best stealth was not just being unseen, it was being dismissed as harmless. "Activating disguise," Quan announced. The ship's hull changed shape and color, making it look like a damaged Council vessel limping back from battle. Council traffic control guided them straight into the heart of the shipyard. "Docking Bay 7, came the alien voice over their radio. "Proceed for repairs and debriefing." "Acknowledged," Jake replied in perfect galactic standard, proceeding to dock. But instead of docking, Jake flew his ship deep into the shipyard's power core. The nuclear warheads he had brought from Earth detonated in a chain reaction that tore the entire facility apart. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. 300 Council warships died before they could ever fight. Tens of thousands of alien workers were killed in an instant. Jake and his crew died in the explosion, but their sacrifice crippled the Council's ability to build new ships for years. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was falling apart. Emergency sessions ran day and night as reports poured in from across their empire. 17 facilities destroyed in 1 week, General Thrackmore reported, his forearms shaking with stress. "The humans are hitting our most important installations with surgical precision." "How are they finding our secret bases?" demanded Counselor Velthar. His crystal body flickered between colors rapidly, showing his panic. "They are using our own technology against us," Intelligence Officer Plixnar explained. "Every sensor we build, every scanner we deploy, they learn to detect and avoid. But more than that, they learn to use our own networks to find our hidden facilities." Prime Zethka looked at the tactical display showing human attacks across the galaxy. Red marks indicated destroyed Council installations. There were hundreds of them. "What about our defensive fleets?" "Gone," Thrackmore said quietly. "Every fleet we send against them is destroyed or forced to retreat. The humans fight with tactics we have never seen. They use their own ships as weapons, sacrifice themselves to take out our larger vessels, and coordinate attacks across dozens of star systems simultaneously." "That is impossible," Velthar protested. No species can coordinate warfare across such distances. Humans can, Plixnar said. They have turned our own communication networks into their command system. Every message we send, they intercept and decode. Every order we give, they anticipate and counter. The truth was even worse than the Council realized. Harin had not just learned to intercept their communications, she had learned to inject false information into their networks. Council fleets received orders that sent them into ambushes. Supply convoys were redirected to empty space where human raiders waited. Defense systems turned on their own bases when human viruses infected their control computers. What do you recommend? Prime Zethka asked her advisors. Negotiate, suggested Counselor Mordak. Offer them reparations, give them territory, accept them as equals. Never! Velthar flared bright red. We are the Galactic Council, we do not negotiate with primitives. These primitives are winning, Mordak pointed out. General Thrakmor studied his battle reports with growing despair. The humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered. They do not follow standard military doctrine. They do not protect their supply lines or establish secure bases. Instead, they strike everywhere at once, using our own technology and infrastructure against us. How do we stop them? Zethka asked. I do not know, Thrakmor admitted. Every tactic we try, they counter with something we never expected. Every weapon we deploy, they turn against us. They are fighting a war that our military academies never prepared us for. The Council's final gambit was born of desperation. If they could not defeat humanity's fleets in open battle, they would strike at humanity's heart. Assemble every remaining ship, Prime Zethka ordered. Every vessel, every weapon, every soldier in our empire. We will go to their homeworld and destroy it completely. The entire fleet? Thrakmor asked in shock. Everything, Zethka confirmed. If we cannot cage them, we will destroy them. No species has ever threatened the Council like this. It ends now. It was their fourth and final mistake. The first was caging humanity. The second was underestimating their determination. The third was thinking they could negotiate after 50 years of imprisonment. The fourth was believing that humans would leave their homeworld undefended. The greatest fleet in galactic history began moving toward Earth. 5,000 ships from 100 different worlds, carrying weapons that could destroy planets and armies that had conquered star systems. But as they traveled through space, they passed the wreckage of their own civilization. Destroyed shipyards floated in the void. Dead monitoring stations drifted like ghost ships. Communication relays that had linked the galaxy for thousands of years were silent and dark. Humanity had not just broken free from their cage. They had systematically destroyed the infrastructure that held the Galactic Empire together. The Council ruled over 800 species, but their empire was already crumbling. Sir, reported the flagship's sensor officer. We are detecting massive energy signatures in the Sol system. Admiral Vextic, somehow still alive after his earlier defeat, looked at the display with growing concern. Human ships? Unknown configuration, the officer replied. The energy patterns are unusual. As the Council fleet approached Earth, they began to understand what they were truly facing. This was not just a rebellious species trying to escape their cage. This was a species that had spent 50 years learning everything the galaxy could teach them, then used that knowledge to build something completely new, something the Council had never seen before, something that would make them regret ever hearing the word human. The final battle was about to begin, and humanity had prepared a surprise that would change the galaxy forever. Harin's voice echoed across Council communication networks, transmitted from hidden stations throughout their empire. You wanted to keep us as primitives. You wanted to study us like animals in a zoo. You thought you could cage the species that conquered an entire world through pure stubbornness. Her words reached every Council world, every alien species that had lived under their rule for thousands of years. The greatest fleet in galactic history approached Earth like a storm made of metal and fire. 5,000 ships from across the Council's empire, carrying enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. They came to end humanity's rebellion, once and for all. Admiral Vextic stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Council's Wrath. Behind him stretched a fleet that had never been defeated, commanded by officers who had conquered hundreds of worlds. Beginning final approach to the human homeworld, his navigation officer reported. All ships ready for planetary bombardment. Vextic smiled coldly. Today we finish what we should have done 50 years ago. Today we show the galaxy what happens when primitives dare to challenge the Council. But as they approached Earth, something was wrong. Their sensors showed only empty space around the blue planet. No defense fleets, no orbital weapons, no signs of the human military that had destroyed so many Council installations. "Where are their ships?" demanded General Krexthor, the Council's top military commander. Intelligence reports said they had built hundreds of warships. "Maybe they ran away," suggested the tactical officer. "Maybe they finally realized they cannot fight the entire galaxy." Vextic was not convinced. He had fought humans before and learned never to underestimate them. Full sensor sweep. Look for hidden ships, cloaked installations, anything. The massive fleet spread out around Earth, searching for the trap they knew must be coming. But they found nothing. Just one small human ship orbiting Earth, an old vessel that looked barely capable of spaceflight. "Hail them," Vextic ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the human ship. An elderly human woman sat in the captain's chair, her gray hair tied back and her eyes calm despite facing impossible odds. "I am Captain Susan Martinez of the Earth Defense Ship Last Stand," she said clearly. "I represent the human government." Vextic laughed. "One ship? This is your great defense?" "We are here to accept your surrender," Captain Martinez replied calmly. The alien bridge fell silent. Then Vextic began laughing so hard his crystalline body shook. "Surrender? You have one ship. We have 5,000. "Numbers do not always matter," Martinez said quietly. "Sometimes quality beats quantity." "You are insane," Vextic said. "All ships, prepare to fire. We will start with your pathetic excuse for a defense ship, then glass your entire world." "I would not recommend that," Martinez said. "You see, we have spent the last year learning everything we could about your technology, including how to turn it against you." Before Vextic could respond, his ship's systems began acting strangely. Warning lights flashed on dozens of control panels. His weapons officer looked up with panic in her eyes. "Admiral, our weapons are powering down. All systems are being overridden by an external signal." "Impossible," Vextic shouted. "Our systems are quantum encrypted. No one can hack them." Captain Martinez smiled sadly on the screen. "You should have learned by now, Admiral. When you tell a human something is impossible, we take that as a challenge." Across the vast Council fleet, the same thing was happening. Ship after ship found their systems turning against them. Weapons that should have fired at Earth instead targeted other Council vessels. Shields designed to protect them began draining power from their engines. Navigation systems locked onto courses that would send them into the sun. "How are they doing this?" General Krexthor demanded, watching his own ship's computers rebel against him. The answer came from Harin's voice, broadcast across every ship in the fleet from hidden transmitters throughout the solar system. "For 50 years you forced us to study your technology," her voice echoed through alien corridors. "Every ship we lost, every mission that failed, taught us more about how your systems work. You thought you were keeping us primitive. Instead, you were giving us a complete education in galactic technology." On the last stand, Captain Martinez watched as the massive alien fleet began tearing itself apart. Ships collided as their navigation failed. Weapons fired wildly as their targeting systems were corrupted. The most powerful fleet in history was defeating itself. "You see," Martinez continued speaking to Admiral Vextic, "humans are very good at learning from our mistakes. Every time you sabotaged our ships, we learned how you did it. Every time you redirected our communications, we studied your methods. Every time you trapped our people, we figured out how your technology worked." "This is not possible," Vextic screamed as his own flagship began shaking apart, its structural integrity fields turned against it. "Oh, but it is," Martinez replied, calmly. You connected your entire fleet through quantum-linked networks to coordinate this attack. That was your mistake. Every ship in your fleet is now part of one giant computer system, and humans have become very good at computer systems. The truth was even more devastating than the aliens realized. Harin had not just learned to hack their technology, she had learned to make it evolve. Human-designed viruses spread through the Council's quantum networks, not just corrupting their systems but improving them, turning their own advanced technology into something beyond their understanding. You wanted to destroy our world, Martinez said as explosions lit up space around Earth. Instead, you brought us the largest collection of advanced technology we have ever seen. Thank you. Admiral Vextic made one final desperate attempt to save his fleet. All ships, emergency shutdown, disconnect from the quantum network. But it was too late. The human viruses had already spread through every system on every ship. When the aliens tried to shut down their networks, they found that their life support, gravity generators, and engine controls were all part of the same infected system. Ships that tried to disconnect from the network simply died in space, their crews suffocating as their air recycling systems failed. Ships that stayed connected continued to be controlled by human programming that turned them into weapons against each other. In less than 6 hours, the greatest military force in galactic history was nothing but floating wreckage and lifeless hulks drifting through the solar system. Captain Martinez opened a channel to the few surviving alien ships. Any vessel that wishes to surrender may do so now. You will be treated according to the laws of war and return to your homeworlds with a message. What message? Asked the captain of a damaged council cruiser, his voice broken by defeat. That the age of the Galactic Council is over, Martinez replied. Tell them that humanity offers a new choice to every species in the galaxy. Join us as equals or leave us alone. But never again will any species be caged for the crime of reaching for the stars. The few surviving council ships limped away from Earth, carrying news that would shake the galaxy to its core. The council's greatest fleet had been destroyed not by superior firepower, but by superior intelligence and the stubborn refusal of humans to accept defeat. Within days, the news spread across the galaxy through the same quantum networks that had once carried council orders. Species that had lived under council rule for thousands of years began to rebel. Worlds that had been forced to pay tribute declared their independence. The great galactic empire that had seemed eternal began crumbling in a matter of weeks. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council held its final session. The great chamber was half empty as representatives fled back to their home worlds to deal with local uprisings inspired by humanity's victory. The Empire is finished, reported General Thrackmore, his remaining 3 arms hanging limply at his sides. The 4th had been lost when his own ship's weapons turned against him during the Earth battle. Prime Zethka looked ancient and defeated. How many worlds have declared independence? 437 at last count, Thrackmore replied. More every day. The humans are broadcasting their story across our own networks. Every species is learning what we did to them, how we caged them and kept them from the stars. What do you recommend? Zethka asked quietly. Surrender, Thrackmore said simply. The humans have won. Not just militarily, but morally. Half the galaxy sees them as liberators now. The other half is too busy fighting for their own freedom to care about us. The dissolution of the Galactic Council was announced 3 days later. The greatest empire in galactic history ended not with a bang, but with a simple statement. The Council recognizes that its authority is no longer accepted by the member species. We hereby dissolve this body and return governing authority to individual worlds. But humanity was not interested in ruling the galaxy. They were interested in making sure no species ever faced what they had faced. Harin, now recognized as Earth's greatest scientist and strategist, addressed the new Galactic Assembly from Luna Base. Representatives from hundreds of worlds listened as she outlined humanity's vision for the future. We do not want to be your rulers, she said simply. We want to be your partners. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to explore together, but never again will any species be told they cannot reach for the stars. The new Galactic Confederation was founded on principles the old council had never understood: freedom, cooperation, and the radical idea that every species had the right to pursue their dreams, no matter how impossible they seemed. Jinha, now admiral of the human space fleet, established the Galactic Patrol, not to rule or control, but to protect any species from suffering humanity's fate. The patrol's mission was simple: ensure that no cage was ever built around any world that reached for the stars. The statue erected in Earth's orbit bore a simple inscription: "In memory of Rex Donovan and all those who died reaching for the stars." Their sacrifice taught the galaxy that no dream is too impossible, no cage too strong, and no species too weak to change the universe. 50 years after they were first caged, humanity had not just won their freedom, they had won freedom for the entire galaxy. The species that had been dismissed as primitive mammals had taught an ancient empire the most important lesson of all: you can cage a human's body, but you can never cage a human's determination to be free. And sometimes that determination is enough to change everything. The galaxy would never be the same. But for the first time in millennia, every species in it was free to reach for the stars and discover what was possible when no one told them it could not be done. The age of cages was over. The age of limitless possibilities had begun. And it all started with one simple mistake: underestimating what humans would do when someone tried to keep them from their dreams.